What up? No, it is another Tuesday. This is Knockouts and Three Counts. And man, we got a lot to talk about. Mighty Mouse calls it a career after announcing that at ONE FC. You got Natalia Silva shocks the world against Andrade. And then, of course, you got AEW All Out. You had Mox bagging up Bryan Danielson. You had Swerve versus Hangman and more. We got a lot to talk about. Before we get to that, I got to tell you about the homies over at Potter's Tree Service. If you are in the need for tree trimming, tree clipping, getting your grass cut, needing storm damage cleanup, lot clearing, chipping service, all that, Asa Potter's got you together. You don't got to call Hacksaw Jim Duggan. As you can see, Asa will come to your crib and take care of that for you. So don't waste your time. We all know we don't want to do that stuff as we get older. So check out the homies over at Potter's Tree Service. Tell them Knockouts and Three Counts sent you and enjoy the show.
This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Ross, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts and Three Counts.
We got a new world champion!
That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts and Three Counts is the podcast, baby! It's the real deal, baby!
Knockouts and Three Counts starts now.
Yeah,
Hit
boy.
the button, J-Bone.
Victory Monday, baby. Oh, wait, what's today? Tuesday. Victory Tuesday.
There it is. Train horn. Let's go, Lions. Matt Stafford has been disappointed once again in his treks back to the city of Detroit. He brought the kids and everybody with him, and he didn't get the dub. A little bit closer for my liking than I would have liked. But at the same time, a dub is a dub. We're still undefeated in the season of 2024. So let's get it. I'm with that. Let's go, Lions. I've said it before.
Football, baby.
I'm not going to be a big hater on Matt Stafford. I feel like Matt Stafford did everything Matt Stafford could do while he was here. So in the grand scheme of things, I'm not hating on him. But with that being said, that's another
the love's
trip
over,
back.
though. You know what I mean?
Without right. But he left with another loss, so it's all good. Let's go, Lions. But with that said, how are you gentlemen doing on this Tuesday?
I'm doing. Put it that way. Had a long one. Put it that way. Hell of a day, boys. Hell of a day. Hell of a weekend, really. I mean, to put it all together. I mean, the pie has just been building up over this last couple days for your boy here. But talking about that Lions game, man. Yeah, that was way closer than it should have been. Talking about Stafford. Stafford feels like that mutual breakup ex where you're like, you just want to see him do good. You know, you're like, you're not mad at him.
Yeah, but it's like, go do good over there.
When you're in the same, when you're in the same room. Yeah, when you're in the same room, you got to, show up. You got to you still got to show up and, be the one. But I mean, other than that, boys, ready to get this week rolling. Hopefully the rest is better than how it started. What about you guys?
It's like, I would love to see you go out and have fun and go party, but don't come to my party. You know what I mean? That's how I feel about Stafford. The love's gone now, man. Go live your dream somewhere else. You already did.
Man, like I said,
fucking Super Bowl. Get out of here.
You're not wrong, dude. I'm not hating on Stafford for doing what he's doing with. I'm not mad at Stafford for doing what he's doing with the Rams, man. But definitely, let's go Lions in this bitch. We need to hear a lot more of those train horns.
Taylor Swift's Chiefs. We're coming for you next.
Yeah, but I just need them to not like. Can we not same old Lions at least in the sense of having it be where they cut it so close? Like, oh my God, like, can we not do that? Like, I got enough of that in the past. Can we not do that? Because, like, we definitely did not need to do that. It was 17-3, damn it. Yeah. And they just
you definitely lose some years off your life cheering for the Lions, that's for sure. But it is what it is. We're here now. Okay.
Now I know where my dad might have got some of those heart problems from.
Be
But
here now.
Yeah.
with that being said, dude, we got a lot other stuff to talk about in the world of pro wrestling and combat sports. With that said, Sean Brady gets him a big dub. We're going to start down the MMA because we're going to be wrestling heavy today with AEW All Out. You've got Raw moving to 2 hours before it moves to Netflix. You've got all kinds of stuff to talk about, and obviously we got to talk about Bryan Danielson getting bagged up by Moxley and basically jumped out of the BCC. You know, you've got Pac and Ospreay. You've got so much to talk about in that one. Plus, like I said, you've got, and that's not even counting MJF versus Daniel Garcia. But like I said, Sean Brady gets a big dub over Gilbert Burns, and now he said he'd like to fight Ian Gary or Colby Covington next. Do we have thoughts on the performance of Mr. Brady?
He's only lost. He's only lost to Bilal, correct?
Yep.
So why not? Why not?
What up, though?
How many is that in a row, Corey? Do you recall?
What victories?
Yeah,
that was his comeback fight from the Bilal
he
fight.
just fought Bilal, right? Okay.
Was the Kelvin Gastelum one after or before? I don't remember. But either way, it was a very solid performance for Sean Brady. I missed the majority of it. I was doing some catching up. Actually, that's part of the reason why I was a little behind for our pre-show stuff. But man, from what I was able to see throughout the fight, it looked like what I kind of, not to toot my own, it was what I was saying in the pre-show or the breakdown leading into it is, are we going to see a more improved, better version of Sean Brady? And I feel like that's what we've seen. He was able to land some better shots. He did get outstruck a little bit by Burns from what I was able to see, but he was able to control the fight throughout the distance. Didn't really allow Burns to land any of those big power shots that would actually change the real momentum of the fight. Burns had a solid performance for somebody of his stature and now age, unfortunately, but it does kind of continue that trend of like, maybe Gilbert Burns is getting older. You know, it seemed like one of those kind of performances to me, at least. What were your guys' thoughts?
It's kind of what I saw too, dude. I mean, I'm a big Gilbert Burns fan. I mean, I think Sean Brady just went out there and did what Sean Brady does. I mean, I don't really know how else to put it other than that he just kind of went out there and did what he did. And I'm not saying, I mean that in the best of ways possible. Like Sean Brady did what Sean Brady does in fights, and I feel like did a lot as to proving why he should get a shot at bigger name fights. So, I mean, it was a good fight for him. I don't think Gilbert's done by any means. He just might be not in the, top 2 or 3 anymore. So, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, personally, I'd like to see Kobe fight just about anybody right now. So I'd love to see that fight between him and Sean. But
do you think Colby would take that fight?
No.
That was my thought when that fight came out.
He's in such a weird position in his fight career because it's like, realistically, every time he fights, he as of lately at least, it seems like he loses. And then he comes back on the mic whenever he gets his first chance to talk, and he's like, "I'm going to be super active. Within 3 months, you're going to see my name back there with the fight announced." And now it's been how long since he lost to Leon?
I just think anymore, if it's not a number 1 contender style fight or anything like that, or if something where he can talk himself into something like that, I feel like he's not going to take it right now.
Yeah, but I feel like all of these guys with a solid performance, I mean, like somebody like a Sean Brady or like a freaking Ian Gary or something like that, the couple people that have kind of had rumblings with his name attached, those are those type of fights, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, maybe it's one more away. I mean, maybe, but with like what you guys were just saying with the way he gets on the mic and actually talks and stuff like that. He's not in a position where he has been, where he's going to main event a pay-per-view currently.
Right.
Not in my opinion. Maybe they pull out all the stops if they end up with this Dustin Poirier versus Colby matchup, but even that I doubt.
That fight to me makes more sense, right? Like, I don't know though. I mean, but I get it for Sean Brady though. I mean, there's only going to be a few people for him to fight, but
I feel like Colby's one of those guys. He's like, you're only going to pull him out if you're currently holding the belt, or for some reason he's going to make a fat paycheck, or like you say, it's literally his easier way in his mind towards the belt again. The Ian Gary matchup between both him and Sean Brady, I think that's a great like next up for whoever they end up fighting for the first, crack at Bilal's belt. But even then, it's like it kind of eats up two young prospects, and I don't know if that's necessarily the move either. I feel like that whole division's kind of at a logjam of who's going to be the next one to take the step. Who's going to be the one to get the title bout is also it's the biggest question in that division right now, because realistically, like Jack Della Maddalena is really close, but is he coming back off injury anytime soon? What's the timetable with that? You got Shavkat, you've got the Kamaru Usmans being thrown around and stuff like that. And I feel like he's pretty deserving based upon his name and based upon the fight that he put on last time on short notice and stuff. So who they give it to, I don't know. And then what that leads to in matchup wise,
Shavkat's got to be next.
Yeah.
But like they were saying, I mean, realistically, who's his biggest victory is what? Burns, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, he might get one more.
Or no,
but I mean,
it was Wonder Boy.
Wonder
Boy is who it was. Yeah. So I mean, to be honest with you, I feel like that's even a lesser victory than a Burns fight, to be honest with you. I mean, at this current state of the game. So I feel like I understand the argument of Shavkat.
Yeah, but aren't you doing the same with Shavkat versus Sean Brady? Because what if Shavkat goes out there and does what Shavkat does, and now all that buildup you've had on Sean Brady goes away? So I mean, really, either way you
see
go,
what's happening here. This is pro wrestling, dude. This is pro wrestling. We got to keep him away till WrestleMania. Get him a few more.
Damn
wins.
right, dude. I mean,
get him a few more wins, and then it becomes a bigger money fight. You know what I mean?
Let's have a number one contender tournament. How about that?
There we go. First, UFC Pride.
Give Kamaru the crack, since he's the old vet.
Yeah,
give him the crack, and then have
they
all these
can't
young
just
guys.
give him the next title shot off of that. He got knocked out in his last fight, didn't he?
No. He
He
went to decision with.
Right. I'm mistaken. I'm mistaken. I forgot.
Then the fight before that, he got decisioned over on Leon, and then the fight before that is when he got knocked out. So I mean, he's on a 3-fight skid, but it's against like number one contenders.
Oh yeah, dude, Kamaru Usman is still damn near one of the GOATs as far as 170 goes. Like, I'm not trying to take anything away from him, man. But
that's what if you were to build up a faux tournament, we don't have to call it and make it official or anything. But if you were to have, like we were saying, Shavkat, maybe Ian Gary, Sean Brady, and insert another young talent in the division that I can't think of currently, and there you go. You'd have who's most deserving at that point.
Right. All right. Well, also at this last weekend's UFC, you had a big win for Natalia Silva over Jessica Andrade. I mean, I think that's as big a win as she can get. Anybody that knows anything about women's MMA, like she's been the champ, like she's been like almost like the Terminator really at those weight classes. And so a win over her is a big deal. I think that this is going to obviously move her way up in the rankings. What do you guys think about that win versus Andrade?
I mean, like I said, same thing applies here. I was only able to kind of catch the highlights and stuff. But that being said, Natalia Silva
She won
was
by
just able
unanimous decision. She
Yeah,
didn't finish her, but
yeah.
it was a good performance.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. She ate her. I did watch the highlight of the whole card and then individually started to watch fights, but just busy boy. But that being said, she definitely looked like she was just able to piece her up and really land the more meaningful strikes, and against somebody like Andrade, especially this current state where she's been on the rise. She's got a couple of solid victories. Andrade being, she was on the uprise. She had a couple good solid victories leading into this fight, and to basically outclass her in Natalia Silva, that was a great fight in my opinion from her to put on that type of a performance and really lead your way up into that next echelon of the division and stuff like that. I mean, Andrade was talking about, female BMF and stuff like that. And arguably she was very deserving leading into that fight.
Oh, yeah, I can't argue that.
No.
And now to be able to go in there and really outclass her and not in a boring way. She led the dance and was landing powerful shots throughout the fight. So, props to her. And I wonder what they do with her next, to be honest.
I mean, she's got to have at least what was her? I mean, that's got to shoot her up the ranks too. I mean, so she's got to get. I think
it was six or seven in a row too. So
yeah, I mean, she's got to get a top 5 opponent next. Nonetheless, J-Bone, you got any thoughts on that one?
I mean, like Corey said, man, just clean shots, more meaningful shots. She outstruck her the whole fight. So for her, like you said, that should be a step up because that was somebody who was pretty much holding gate there at that division. And female BMF, absolutely. That's what I mean. You can't really argue that. And now that she pieced her up the way she did and won that the way she did, I don't see why she don't get a notable fight.
Well, no, it was Andrade was calling for the female BMF.
That's what I'm saying. And she deserved it.
Yeah.
But now she got beat up. So
I mean, to be honest, when you think about it, Nate Diaz and them were fighting for that. She could still fight for the BMF. I mean, realistically. Yeah. But like I said, I think it's a big win for Natalia Silva. Obviously, like I said, I think her best performance inside the UFC. And as I said, I think she's got to get a top 5 opponent next. All right. Mighty Mouse has called it a career. Our boy Jared Brooks was looking to get him some scrap with Demetrious Johnson before he got out of ONE FC. And I just mean he wanted to fight with him before anybody tries to pick this up and say I said some shit I did. But with that being said, I'll start on this one, man. One of the most underrated of all time because he's a guy who arguably could be on a Mount Rushmore. At least if you're talking of small fighters, has to be on there. I mean, the run that he went on as champion, the stuff that he was able to do as champion. Then they traded him to ONE FC in what was a unprecedented thing. And then to go over there and win the championship there too. Yeah. The guy is great. And Dana didn't have anything bad to say about him either when it got announced. I really wonder if he could go back, if he would have kept Demetrious Johnson. But I mean, in a time when I was still coming up training a lot and things of that nature and seeing him do what he did on the run, I think a lot of the newer fans like that came on through COVID and stuff like that may not realize the greatness of him because he wasn't in UFC at the time. Mm-hmm. But when you look at an overall body of work, holy hell. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If he's not like first ballot into the UFC Hall of Fame, like that whole thing's a joke.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of brought up there, Kyle. I mean, realistically, just if not the best to ever do it, one of. And I mean, I understand the whole size discrepancy with people and stuff like that of maybe not understanding, but he's taking on people of like size. It's not like you know what I mean? It's the same as everybody else. They're all taking on the same, we have weight classes for a reason, and he was able to not only dominate his, but go on just an unprecedented run. Like the likes of like Anderson Silva and John Jones really are the only people that are in the same like talk for title defenses and stuff, and really just the way that he ate through a division. It was just wild. I mean, during his time when he was on the top, it was unfortunate to see the lack of
really
like interest
off the
in
top,
spec.
though, if you think about it, though, because he was still champ on his way out.
Oh, I know. Well, what I mean by that is the UFC time. I was going to circle back to the but when he was on top in the UFC before the Henry Cejudo fight, he was just really. It seemed like he was hitting this point where he was like, what else can I do in this division to prove that I am that guy? And then unfortunately the Henry Cejudo fight happened for his career at least. And honestly, I feel like it wasn't even necessarily a bad thing for him because it just opened his eyes to the possibilities. Once that whole trade happened, like you were saying, Kyle, that it really opened my eyes, as that was a kind of pinnacle moment for me, as I guess opening my eyes from being less of a casual fan and really watching some of these other promotions more. And I mean, one championship, I love tuning in for their Muay Thai fights now. I tune in all the time for them. And like you said, Kyle, Michigan's Zone, Jared Brooks and stuff like that. I mean, we have it really opened so many fans' eyes up to different organizations and stuff like that to be able to tune into. He was such an inspiration to so many of the younger, smaller weight class guys and stuff, of what they may be able to accomplish and stuff like that. So to leave where he was, like you had said, Kyle, on top at ONE FC, was holding 2 belts at the time, one for a Grand Prix championship and one for the division. And to move on the way he did, I mean, props to him, man. You can't take, nothing but respect. And I wish all the best for him. He does an amazing YouTube channel with, podcasts and interviews and just highlights and stuff like that. So it doesn't seem like he's going away. That's for sure. If anything, it seems like he's going to be
doing stuff. He's only 38, dude. You know what I mean? So he's still got a long way to go, but best flyweight of all time, UFC. I mean, he still holds the record for what most finishes, most wins, right?
Most title defenses.
Most title defenses. Yeah, most finishes too. I believe in that division was 7. So I mean, nobody's coming close yet. So best flyweight of all time, right there, man. Definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer.
And you can't say nothing bad about it. But
no.
With that being said, now we got a lot of wrestling to talk about. We had also shout out to past guests of the show, Christine Faria, picking up the dub, keeping her belt over there in BKFC this past weekend against Jad Masong Wong. Not the best fight for either lady, but you know what? They did what they can do. And sometimes that's what happens. Styles make fights. She still got the dub, and that's what matters. Keeping that belt. Hopefully we will be chatting with the champ again soon. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, was there any concern when they were reading them scorecards in your mind?
Well, when one of them said that Masan Wong won, I kind of was, because I'm like, oh no. Like, because
I was like,
I still like thought she had won, but I was just like, oh man.
Not like that, because it was relatively close and those rounds were so back and forth. You kind of could have had it for either direction, just what you were scoring upon, basically. But that being said, I mean, that's not, not like that. You can't lose your belt like that. That's what I was feeling.
Theoretically,
was like, not like that. At least you got to come pull it off me if you're gonna. I don't know. Like you say, Kyle, it wasn't the greatest performance from either woman, but
I just think that one, the kind of just Styles kind of fucked that one up, to be honest. I feel like Jod kind of wanted to tie her up on the inside so that she couldn't box so much. Christine wanted to box. She said that going into the fight. She said that after the fight. And according to what she says, they've got another matchup that should be coming down the pike down here soon. So I'm excited to see what we see next from Christine on this one. J-Bone. All right. AEW All Out. What did you think? Especially with all things considered, with just having All In and all that as well. We saw a man potentially, like it was attempted murder on live TV.
The crowd was even chanting.
This is murder. Like,
Yeah, dude. You know,
it's been a while since I've seen somebody get the bag over the head.
seriously. No, it was good though. Like I know we kind of complained a little bit about it being too close, all out or all in,
But
all
I think
out,
they
but-
realized that with the way they did All In for next year.
Yeah, but just take away all that match wise, presentation wise, everything was great, dude. The matches were great. Pac versus Ospreay was considered banger, potentially match of the year. I do like that they threw in the little Ricochet little nugget where he was watching backstage. You catch that at any point?
Yeah.
That was good. Planting seeds for the future. Love that stuff. But dude, the matches on there, the things that happened on this pay-per-view blew me away. So I don't know where
You
you want to
pick,
start
sir.
on that pay-per-view,
I was
but
going to say, you pick where you want to go on that one. What do you want to
just go-
start at?
Let's just
Pac.
start at the jugular, dude. Start at the jugular. Swerve and Hangman was incredible. Okay, I do have one complaint, and it doesn't even matter. But the whole lights out part, I didn't understand it because he's like,
Lights out, that's just their way.
Lights out, and we're gonna. I thought they were shutting the lights off for good for the match, right? He's like,
I
"We're
think
shutting the
that's
lights-"
just more like a name they use. Like, so when it's lights out, I think it's more so to do with like
Unsanctioned
they're
stuff.
saying it's unsanctioned.
Yeah.
Because you notice they also did it after the world title match. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So like
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah, so they cut the lights off, and I'm like, "Oh, this is interesting." But then they turned them back on. I was like, "Oh, okay." That didn't.
Okay.
make
My
sense.
thing is that was a badass match. I'm not gonna
Dude.
argue that at all. I like the fact that Swerve had like the burning house on his trunks.
Yeah,
I don't know about the syringe through the mouth.
that's tough to watch, dude. That's hard.
I don't know about this. I mean, hey, but at the same time, though, it is the difference between them and WWE. I enjoyed the match.
Look, we've been to death matches. We've been to the death match circus. You know what I mean? We've been to all this stuff. Hey, Jolyn. And we've seen all this stuff in person. We've seen guys' arm meat falling out of their
we've
arm.
seen
You know
our
what I
guy
mean?
Tommy Vendetta do that to a couple motherfuckers, man.
So it's just weird to see it on TV, I guess, is all it is. You know what I mean? I think that's
I agree with that. But it was all in all, though, the match was sick. The fact that they actually like did the whole thing where they burnt the house down and did all that stuff, like that was gnarly. And
I was watching on a stream and I seen where they put the cinder block in the ring. Someone's like, "Oh no, the cinder block's gonna be used this way. It's definitely not real cinder block, right?" And then when they dropped Hangman on the cinder block and it cut his back up instantly, dude, that sent like tingles up my spine, bro. That would suck.
Yeah.
Instantly.
You're not kidding,
you can instantly see the wound, bro. It was disgusting. I loved it.
Yeah. It was, dude, it was crazy though, because like, and then I honestly went into this one so conflicted as far as to who I thought would win. Because on one hand, like, Swerve just lost the title, so can he really handle to lose another one like that? But then at the same time, Hangman's lost the last couple big matches he's had, so I totally see where he needed it.
Yeah, and I think the direction they're going with that, they're probably going to take Swerve off TV for a moment. And then you know how it goes in wrestling, Kyle. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. So in a month or two, when Swerve makes his big return, he's another big face, big time moment, and it's just gonna build him up. You know what I mean, for something bigger. So I think that's
dude, Swerve's as big a star as you can get over there in AEW. It was like I said, some of the stuff they did in that match was wild to see. But I mean, at the end of the day, I also like the way
the chair shot at the end.
Yeah, dude.
We're not covering our head and everything.
That chair shot was pretty fucking gnarly.
Yeah, he's gonna need some time off after that. So let's give him a break. He's been putting in the work, and he deserves to be where
that was like a home
as
run
far as
derby
superstardom.
swing. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah,
it was like,
yeah.
Man, that was one of those where you're just like, "Whoo, buddy!" That's
yes. I'm surprised we didn't see some fire in that match, to be honest. But
given what happened with the house and all that stuff. But yeah, dude, that was dope. Kyle is going to be joining us here in a few minutes to talk about this as well. since we started at the very end of the show, I'll go next to what we got at the beginning of the show, bro. MJF versus Daniel Garcia really really showed out, dude. Like I expected them to. But damn, dude, they beat the shit out of each other. And I think Daniel Garcia is really getting to the point where he'll be a star over there. But MJF, man, like, love the guy, hate the guy, whatever you want, whether it's on the mic or in a match, dude, that guy continues to deliver.
Yeah, definitely. He's the future of that company, man. There's no way around that. No matter, like you said, love him or hate him, no matter what he does, it's just he's just building and building onto his empire. But did they show, because I wasn't watching the actual pay-per-view, like I said, I was watching a live stream, but did they show him getting carried out of the arena at the end there on your screen? They did? Okay. I wasn't sure.
What was funny to me though is I'm like, couldn't get a stretcher.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Like, okay, you got the neck brace, you're just carrying the guy out like he's walking. Nobody walks out in a neck brace. You know what I mean? Like,
well, no, they carried him, but I was like,
that's standard practice, bro. You got to be laying flat.
Yeah, you want to immobilize them.
And then you're going to get the WWE marks, and this is why WWE is better because they take care of their wrestlers. They put them on stretchers and then get them, thrown downstairs and stuff.
They tore that shit up though for being the first match. You always hear people say you want something to start off the crowd hot, dude. And that match,
and like you said, it was good for Garcia too, man. Because I mean, while he's been thriving over there, he still needs those big notable wins to get him to the next level. You know what I mean? So they're working on it. They're definitely people can no longer say they're not putting work into the right guys, into the future of their of their company, because you still got guys like Garcia and MJF and Jack Perry, who are the future of AEW, that are building. Swerve, you know what I mean? Hangman, they're still building onto those guys. So that part of all that trash talking they say about AEW, I feel like you got to sweep that to the side now, because that's no longer the case.
Yeah, dude, that was a straight banger on that one. But speaking of straight bangers, bro, Ospreay versus Pac, like, dude. That shit was everything. I mean, I've said it on the show multiple times. As far as like in-ring stuff, Ospreay is one of my favorite to watch. Mm-hmm. As far as just like bell to bell, and like him and Pac against each other one-on-one, dude. Oh my God. The poison Rana off the top rope, which Corey, to put into terms for you, it's like it's the same thing as a Hurricane Rana, but he's doing it from the backside, and then Will Ospreay completely flipped out and then landed on his feet. What up, though? Chris checking in from Massachusetts. What up, my guy? Yeah, dude, I'm a big fan of anything we see Ospreay do inside the ring, and then against a guy like Pac, dude, that was a banger. And then, again, we talk about stories and things like that for the show to end the way it did with the Danielson match. And Pac to be involved in that too. So, what did you think about that one? If you guys are checking it out, what did you guys think?
I was completely caught off guard. I did not expect that when Christian came out. Well, first when Luchasaurus came out, I thought that was a pretty cool little thing with him and Jack Perry. Kind of going back on the beginning, pages of that book. But when Christian came out, and then we seen Moxley show up, at that point, I wasn't exactly sure what Moxley was doing there. I was like, okay, are we going back to the BCC thing, or is Moxley? I thought at first maybe Moxley's like, no, this is mine. Like, I'm next type of thing. But then when we seen the Bullet Club, BCC come in and kind of stand ground, and then for Claudio to be the one to deliver that blow.
That was cold-blooded.
That's
especially with Pac holding Wheeler though, because he didn't hurt Wheeler either.
Yeah.
But like for Claudio to like blast him with the uppercut and then Mox to bag him up like that, dude.
Yeah. That I did not expect that part. That part is like, if it was Mox standing there, I'd probably be like, this could be a thing. But since I just didn't expect it to be Claudio. But I did like the Wheeler Yuta touch on that. Clearly he had no idea that was happening. He's in his feels about Danielson. That's his mentor. So that story works. We'll see what happens with that. But I thought it was good storytelling, man. And I was shocked. They got me.
All right, Kyle, we're talking about
what up, man?
First
What's
of
up, guys?
all, what up, Bill?
Man.
I would have been here earlier, but apparently it's a whole wraparound you have to do for iOS, for Macs, for StreamYard. So I had to go do a whole technical stuff. So I would have been on like 15 minutes early. I had to download the update, wait for the update.
Oh yeah,
What's
you
up,
know how that
Watson?
StreamYard shit goes. You gotta love StreamYard these days.
Yeah, you gotta love it. What's going on, guys? How y'all doing?
Not bad. One of our original four, Kyle, is joining the show, but we were talking about what happened with Danielson versus Jack Perry and the turn of the BCC on Danielson and the way that Wheeler Yuta is kind of like left in the ether on this one. What did you think about that?
I gotta say, everything I've been seeing recently with AEW in regards to Bryan Danielson. Still, of course, I have it. I love it. Being that he said this is probably going to be his last full-time run, I'm expecting to see a lot more stuff that like he possibly couldn't do earlier in his career, just basically getting stuff off his bucket list, giving him a faction basically to go against with the BCC, being that it's something he created, being that him and Mox have a lot of history. I love it. I think they're going to build Yuta up as the next big guy. So I love what I've been seeing. It's fun to see my favorite wrestlers have fun doing what they're doing. And you can tell he's having fun doing this, which you don't see a lot. You see guys like maybe they love their work, but you know he loves this industry. He loves being in this ring. He loves giving it all. And seeing this, it's fun to see, especially with everything I've seen him go through. 10 years ago, we probably didn't think he was going to be coming back to wrestling. So actually seeing him have his AEW career has been amazing to see. It's been one of the best things this company has done. And it's just really fun to see.
Yeah,
what do you think? What do you think happens next with that? Do you think he just stands up against the whole BCC, or do you think?
Well, he can't not go back and try to fight him now.
Right?
What
does he do it alone? I guess is my question. Does he call for some backup? If so, who would it be?
I don't want to see this be like a late 90s WWE thing where it's faction versus faction, and you bring another faction and another faction in. Just having it be him versus them, I think is good enough because arguably he's one of the greatest underdogs you've had in the last 20 years in wrestling. I mean, a guy that works great as a heel, but as an underdog, you don't want anybody to win more than him. So having his back against the wall, I think, is great. And you get to see a little more out of the BCC that you haven't seen. And honestly, I love a heelish type of Mox. I think he works great that way. So I think that's probably the way they're going to go. But they haven't really missed too much with this so far early in it. So I'm happy to see where it goes.
I'll tell you what, that whole bag thing, really, I didn't expect that, dude. That was definitely some like, we're pushing the line here. You know what I mean? Like,
I saw a meme.
What can we do to not kill the guy?
Joke about it, the fact that it's plastic,
right.
And he's a very anti-plastic guy. That it had a lot of elements of that. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's actually working on a couple levels. That's pretty good.
That's actually pretty good. Funny. I didn't even think about that. That's hilarious. Actually, that makes it even better.
The thing that's crazy though is like I was saying, it definitely caught me off guard, but at the same time, like I get it with them trying to be like what's different. Although if there's any truth to the rumor of them being with Fox, I don't know if that would get over very well on Fox in 2024.
No.
But
no, you ain't committing murder on network television, bro. Not like that.
They need ratings, but I don't think they need them that bad.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, dude.
I wouldn't mind seeing something like that either because growing up, the reason I love SmackDown and I always keep a little spot in my heart for SmackDown is because it was on regular TV. I didn't have basic cable all the time, so I had to watch SmackDown. So the fact that, granted, NXT is coming to the CW, but the CW as a network really hasn't been anything since a lot of the Arrowverse shows for me ended. So having not having wrestling on a main regular television, it doesn't feel right.
Yeah, I get that.
It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. We had the debut of Julia tonight on NXT as well against Chelsea Green. And then we're going to see her in the NXT women's title match
come the first NXT on the CW network. So it's going to be interesting to see how all that plays out. WWE Week was something that I wanted to get into as well. Before we get off of AEW All Out, Kyle, what did you think of? Did you get to see Ospreay versus Pac, or do you just saw the clips?
I just saw the clips. I've been a big fan of Will Ospreay for years, so I'm just a fan of his. But I didn't get to watch the entire thing because I was working. I got to see clips here and there. I know me and Kyle were talking about earlier that apparently, I don't know if you guys went over earlier, but apparently there was another type of backstage incident or something. So they're just keeping everything going. Like that's the tradition now, just having some type of bullcrap happen backstage. Like that's just what they do now. But yeah, what I saw, I did like.
Yeah, man, I enjoyed the hell out of it.
I didn't catch that.
They said that there was something that happened backstage, but nothing's really been confirmed. So I'm gonna stay off of that one. I mean, it sucks to hear that stuff. I want nothing but the best for AEW, straight up. Like that's the thing, because when there's multiple places that are doing well, dude, it's just better for wrestling. I mean, we're getting to see stuff over there that you don't get to see in the WWE very often. I mean, like I was saying, Ospreay versus Pac is totally the opposite of what a WWE style match was, dude. It was fucking insane.
Yeah.
Like
The
really
Poison
just.
I mean, how many times?
That's what I was trying to explain to Corey. Like, did the Poison Rana off the top rope, both guys standing on the top rope, and then Ospreay lands on his feet. Like that guy, the fact that his knees still work is a thing in and of itself. Like, I'm just saying, because man, that guy, the way that he's able to control his body in the air, the stuff that he does in matches, and to do it over and over and over again like that, man, the fact that his knees are not destroyed is a thing in and of itself.
Do you think that little Ricochet snippet there in that match, you think that's leading?
Oh, Ospreay Tony Khan wants to run that ASAP. Like, come on, dude.
For Ospreay?
I mean, why else would you show him?
Yeah.
I see when they do that, they're
probably for Grand Slam.
Probably for the promos, they're gonna make some type of Jim Cornette crack about the flippy stuff from years ago.
Oh,
they're gonna throw some type of. I'm like, all right. Some of these, when you see some of the matchups, you're like, oh, I know you're gonna mention this because this was on the internet a couple years ago, said about you. So it's gonna be a fun match. I've always been a fan of Ricochet, even when he was Prince Puma.
See, we had so many people on TikTok were trying to hate. Like, why does everybody love Prince Puma? I'm like, man, Prince Puma was dope. Like,
what's to love about that?
What are we hating on Prince Puma for, dude? Like, Lucha Underground was dope. If you didn't get to watch Lucha Underground, I highly suggest that you go back and watch Lucha Underground because, like, a lot of big names came out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Or went.
I forgot that that's the first time you saw a grown-up Dominic Mysterio. I mean, he's got a different look. He's slimmed down a lot, but like he was on there, and I'm like, yeah, I forgot Dom was on there. It was a good alternative. That's the thing I love about there being multiple alternatives. You get stuff that you're not always going to see. Like I've had to explain to people for years that WWE isn't wrestling; it's just one part of wrestling. You know, having TNA, Impact, having AEW, ROH, New Japan, having them, you are able to really see the beauty of wrestling because it's not just one thing. It's not just WWE. And that's why I will always be glad that we do have an AEW or a TNA because you get to see different stuff. And that's the beauty of wrestling. I mean, it's like movies. I love movies, but I don't just always want to watch a comedy. I don't always want to watch a Marvel movie. You know, I like watching different things. And that's why I think having the alternative is really good, which always upsets me in the comments when people are always playing flags for the other one. I'm like, enjoy it. Just enjoy
the most
it.
toxic place in the world on the internet.
MMA's like that too, though, man. I say it all the time on the show. We definitely picked like two of the most like toxic fan bases between combat sports.
Ain't that the truth,
dude? I mean, between combat sports and pro wrestling, we picked a couple of great fan bases in that one.
In there, I recently over the last like year got my girlfriend on Star Wars. And
Star Wars is toxic at times too.
We've now made it. We're now into the newest trilogy. We just finished Last Jedi, and I'm like, I'm glad that as happy as you were seeing these, you're as upset as I am now. I'm like, I don't bias her. I'm like, I'm not gonna say anything about this movie. Just watch it. She's like, why the hell is Ray doing? I'm like, oh, thank God. I thought that was gonna be the deal breaker in the relationship, but you don't like Ray, okay, that's fine. But I said to her, and I'm like, I'm part of two of the worst fandoms you can have. I'm like, the worst part of Star Wars is the Star Wars fans. The worst part of wrestling is wrestling fans. Like I that's just the best way to say it. I mean,
it is.
You can't make them happy. They complain about everything. When you try to give them what they want, they still complain about it.
It almost pisses them off when you give them what they want.
Because then it's not exactly how
you didn't build it up right to give me what I want.
And then, like, I grew up watching the prequels. I don't think they're great films, but watching them now, I'm like, they're not as bad as people said they were. You know, so there's going to be another generation that grows up and watches the new ones, and they're going to be like,
I was going to say, if you're about to say that all the Star Wars were bad, I was going to have to stop you. Like,
no,
I'm
like,
not like the biggest Star Wars nerd, but hold on a minute.
Hates the prequels, and I'm like, they ain't perfect, but in my opinion, Revenge of the Sith is one of the top 5 best Star Wars films. Seeing Anakin finally become Vader was something I always wanted to see, and R.I.P. James Earl Jones. You know, so seeing stuff as a wrestling fan, you know, we always want the dream matches, and then you finally get the dream match, and then what do? They complain about it.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing, and I think AEW is trying to change it now, is like some of the matches we were getting. It's like there wasn't enough. Like, I think we can all agree if there's not enough story to it. I mean, good matches are cool. Like, but I mean, then you run into to kind of tie it all around to like our other fan base, but like combat sports, it's like when you get a UFC fight night where it's like, yeah, you got a bunch of badass fights, sit through there and you watch all the fights. Yeah, they were great fights. I enjoyed it, but did I really know this guy or know that guy, or does this guy really got a bunch of wins over somebody who I know, so that I'm invested in wanting to see what this guy's going to do? Or to tie it back to like the wrestling side of it, you could have a card full of bangers, but like, is it going to be the thing that makes me want to keep, tuning back in? Which is why I think the Swerve Hangman build with how they did that with Burning the House did that. I think Ospreay versus Pac, I mean, that just appeals to people who just, I mean, like I said, I could watch Will Ospreay every day of the week. Like,
I still think the best thing AEW ever did, still to this day, was the extreme long-term and even subtle background stuff of Hangman's descent. Like him versus the Elite, the entire thing from day one, with him saying he was going to be a future champion, and then having that, stuck on his back for a while, and then his drinking, and then losing, his friendship with Kenny, and then losing his friendship with the Bucks. That, to me, is still the best long-term storytelling they've done. I think the stuff they've been doing with Bryan Danielson, Jesus Christ, Bryan Danielson.
Don't worry, we do it all the time.
Couple years has been very close to it. But like when I suggested to people about getting into AEW, I'm like, there's some compilation videos, on YouTube. Go look at the stuff that they did with this guy named Hangman Page. The way they built it up, the way the matches work, because that's one thing that is probably one of the hardest things in wrestling is not just the build-up, but the actual match. Because you can have great build-up and have a wet fart of a match. You can have a great match, didn't have any build-up. But having both of them is really where the classics come. And the Hangman stuff, to me, is still like when I want to recommend AEW to somebody, that's where I go to. So I think that's something that they have to balance. But that's the thing. They have all the tools. So that's the thing that what, as an AEW fan and a fan of WWE, but it's like you have the tools, just, get some structure to it, I guess I would say.
And they're relatively new still. You know what I mean? They got so much farther to go, man.
Exactly.
And honestly, that was when people were talking about bringing Shane in, that photo of Shane was popping around. Like, I wouldn't be opposed to bringing Shane in just as like just an info guy. Like, hey, how do I do this? How do I do that? Like,
the guy's
not, dude.
He's literally the son of the guy that gave wrestling the greatest boom of all time.
Sure.
Like, he was in those
let's
rooms.
not
He was
forget,
by
I was
his
gonna
side.
say,
He was
let's not act like Shane wasn't involved in a lot of that stuff. Like,
exactly.
Dude, like he's been in there since he was young. He was his dad's right hand. I mean, yes, he was away from WWE for a while, but I mean, as far as like we say, you know, there's things that Tony Khan's got to learn. Well, having a guy like Shane who's got that many years experience, not just there, but in business as well. I mean, he's a good person for Tony to run that stuff through. But
yeah, like I said, even as a consultant, I don't think outside of maybe a handful of people, you can find anybody better that has literally 4 or 5 decades plus experience being in the meetings that, you know, the podcast interviews we haven't even heard about yet. Yeah. Shane was in the meetings where his dad was having these meetings with these wrestlers, talking about contracts, talking about storylines, talking about what he wants to do. I mean, just the wealth of knowledge that he has, that honestly would be a great asset to AEW if it, you know, ever happened.
You're not wrong, dude. I think that's something's cool. That's something that's cool if it happens. But with that said, to wrap up the show, man, you know, we heard it was announced, I think, yesterday that going forward, Raw is going to be going back to 2 hours until it goes to Netflix. You know, we'll kind of combine the two. What are your guys' thoughts on it going back to 2 hours and what it'll do in Netflix? I mean, for me, I've said it for a while. I think 2 hours is like the appropriate length for like the weekly shows, to be honest. But at the same time, it'll be interesting to see like the transition back to that because it's going to cut out a lot of the extra. And then with them going to Netflix, there's been a lot of talk of like, is it going to be more edgier than it's, you know, like Netflix has already said it's going to be more edgier, but how edgier are we talking? And so it's going to be interesting to see how everything goes as far as once it goes to Netflix, because also, you know, you hear people talk about all the time how WWE caters more towards the you know, the families and kids and things like that, while going to an 8 to 10 run time is a little bit better for kids in school as well. So I don't know, man. I think we're going to get a little edgier version, but what do you guys think of Raw going back to 2 hours? Corey, you got any thoughts on the way that what you think could happen with it going to Netflix? And like, do you think they'll get edgier at all, or do you think that the shorter time slot is going to benefit them at all?
I mean, 2 hours I definitely think helps. You condense it, you get that little bit of extra spark out of it. That being said, I think the Netflix deal is huge. We had spoke about it when it was first, you know, brought up about how many eyes and potential there is for the whole Netflix deal. I mean, it's the biggest subscription thing, other than like what you were saying earlier, Kyle, with the whole just straight broadcast available over the airwaves for free. Netflix is the closest thing you're going to get to that kind of currently with the amount of subscribers and stuff that they got. So, I mean, realistically, it's a big move for them forward. I feel like they're the first big organization to kind of do that. We've seen it already though with the whole Peacock thing, with like their premium live events and stuff like that.
They're still pay-per-views to me, damn it.
Yeah, I mean, we've already kind of seen that, I guess, transition in my eyes to where the predominant thing of their, like, I mean, you can say their biggest entities are SmackDown and Raw and stuff like that, but realistically, the biggest thing every year is their pay-per-views. And if that's already on a streaming service, I don't think they're going to necessarily struggle coming on to a streaming service.
Is that staying on Peacock? Is that where it's at right now?
Well, I thought from the way that they've said it, it looks as though like when they go over to Netflix, eventually all the stuff will come to Netflix, probably once the deal that they got with Peacock, you know, runs out, unless Peacock wants to just pay a bunch of money. Because then again, remember, you know, like we've been talking about, and it's helped out with TNA. And for any of you guys who are new here, make sure you go back and check out our chat with Matt Cardona, because Matt Cardona talked about it with TNA and TNA's return here to Detroit for Bound for Glory. Shout out to TNA for that one. But the thing with that, dude, is, again, the rising tide raises all ships kind of analogy, really. Like with WWE doing well, everybody's eating right now. And I think with them going to Netflix, I mean, realistically, I mean, the UFC's kind of dabbled in it because the pay-per-views are all on ESPN Plus. So it's kind of similar to the way WWE is, and obviously with them being like a parent company like that, I think it's not too far off to say that, TKO as a whole is looking at how both companies are doing with pay-per-view and see how it goes. But I mean, realistically, man, it's undeniable the numbers that WWE is doing at this point. The fact that they're sellouts everywhere they go. Realistically, I would be shocked. I would be more shocked if when they go to Netflix that you don't see this huge jump in subscriptions. Yeah. I'd be blown away if it wasn't.
I'm still one of the people that I have Peacock. I accidentally bought it for a year and forgot to take the auto renew off my card, so I have it for another year. January of 2025, you're getting canceled. But I hate.
You got to see how the pay-per-views go.
I hate the fact that I can't pause it. That's the one thing I hate about Peacock. Thing over the old WWE network. If I get off work or if I'm doing something late and I come in and the pay-per-view's on, I just have to wait until it's over and just catch it as it's airing and go on the wrestling pages and find out what happened and stuff, because they can't rewind a live stream, which is like so odd. I think one thing that they're doing with the Netflix and Peacock thing is kind of similar to what they're doing. South Park is doing. South Park's entire library up to the last 3 years is all on HBO Max, because HBO Max bought their streaming rights back in 2019. But if you want to watch the new stuff they're doing, you have to actually subscribe to Paramount Plus, which owns them, because they also air on Comedy Central. So if you want to watch everything you've had from South Park, you have to have 2 different streaming services, which, as you say, post them up. If you want to watch the new stuff, get Paramount. If you want to watch all the old stuff, you got to get HBO Max. Well, Max.
So I
think that's kind of what they're doing. If you want to watch it, you have to have both streaming services.
I don't know what the contract looks like as far as Peacock and WWE, but if I'm Peacock, Rumble season to WrestleMania season, I want to hold on to that spot because everybody is going to tune in from Royal Rumble to WrestleMania. That is the biggest hot spot in wrestling. So if you're Peacock, I like I said, I don't know what the contracts look like.
But you got to imagine Netflix might have. I would bet they asked for that, though, because think of it this way, too. Netflix is something that they got here, they got in the UK, they got all that stuff. So that could also solve the issue of having to have the WWE network as well, which could also save them some money, because if it's all on Netflix.
Yeah.
And I see if they suppose they actually go to their all Netflix, all the old library content, I have a lot more faith in Netflix for putting up a better user interface than Peacock has.
Mm-hmm.
Peacock's interface for it, it's not great. The UI in general really isn't great, but then searching up the WWE content, it's a little cumbersome versus, the WWE Network I thought was absolutely beautiful how they had it. So I think you could tweak it. I wouldn't be surprised if Peacock just comes back to them and says, hey, we'll just take 10 of your PLEs a year. We'll just take the big 4 or 5, and we'll take a couple of the big ones.
Especially if the numbers that they're reporting are true. Which there's no reason to think that they're not at this point, given like the way that they're selling everywhere. Because that's something to be noted too. Like, it's one thing to say, oh, we're breaking records on pay-per-views and how many people are watching the pay-per-views. It's one thing to say that. But when you go to those pay-per-views, how full are the buildings? And repeatedly, I forgot how many sellouts they were at in a row. And this is like here, this is in Germany, this is in France, this is in so when you're doing numbers like that, I think that says something. I think to Corey's point, I think the Netflix thing ultimately is going to be a big thing. And I wouldn't be shocked if Netflix tries to shoot its shot to just have the full overall control over where you can see like all that stuff, like the pay-per-views and all that stuff. Plus I would imagine it might save WWE some money as well when you think about the fact that then you wouldn't need to have a WWE network. So
true. Well, not saving me money, damn it, because now I got to get Netflix again.
See, I'm one of those people that I've always had Netflix. I just don't tend to watch it much. And then
I was like part of that whole thing of like sharing passwords and stuff. I thought that was fun.
I thought that was fun.
It was good while lasted, man.
It was a good ride.
Golden era.
It was good. Wow.
Right.
I can't. I mean, I got a 10-year-old who religiously stays up every Monday to watch Monday Night Raw. I can't not watch Raw, right? So
I'm getting used to it
Take
now
my
too,
money.
because like I said, we just dropped cable and then went to the YouTube TV. So like adjusting to that and like how all that works and like shit like that is crazy too.
I like we were talking about it the other day. I love the YouTube TV. Granted, the price has gone up since I've gotten it, but the fact that it's an unlimited DVR,
I like
great
that
game.
too.
I literally now, and I haven't watched a lot of AEW, but I literally have like 2 years worth of AEW just sitting in my DVR right now. I have 2 years worth of Raw just sitting there and go back and rewatch it, the entire thing, and they keep it on there. They don't like take it out. So I'm like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be cool to see the way of the world and the way everything gets going. But with that being said, before we get out of here, feel free to let everybody know if you got anything coming on a World of Chaos or any of that stuff.
Yeah, I had some technical difficulties. Me and a former Knockouts and 3 Counts host, Kevin, we were doing a movie list of the day. I'm going to be putting that back out in the next couple of weeks. Have some new projects coming. Have a couple new interviews. The most recent one is probably going to be with Justin Main, friend of the show. We did an interview a couple years when he had his Crow fan film come out. And now that the big budget Crow film has come out and it's completely been a wet turd and has justified a lot of people thinking that they should have just left that alone and just watch his movie. We're going to be having him on soon. So just make sure you follow me on all social media. World of Chaos on YouTube, World of Chaos on where you get your podcast. Follow Team Chaos Facebook page. Wakanda Black Nerdcast is this page. And the reality news page where you can see Kyle, me, and all a bunch of guys just talking about wrestling.
You done heard it, man. Make sure you stay tuned. I got a feeling that it may not be the end of the TNA talent that you guys have seen come through here on Knockouts and 3 Counts. Shout out to our guy Whip. I know he's got a big week with Nick Nemeth and Moose coming through. Make sure you stay tuned. Like I said, you'll never know who will be coming through on the other side. I know Jared Brooks, the 1FC champion, is going to be making his way back through here soon as well. And me and J-Bone might be, checking out some rock music tomorrow. So if you guys are around Stained and Breaking Benjamin and all that kind of stuff, make sure to holler at your boy. Shout out to our sponsors, Potter's Tree Service. I heard Asa Potter might be making the trip down to Pine Knob. With that being said, dude, it's going to be a busy month because your boy's back on commentary for Lights Out Championship. Make sure you check them out. And shout out again to past guest of the show, Austin Bashy, getting that UFC contract last week on Dana White's Contender Series, showing people what we already knew, what it was in the mitten. Until next time and in the in-between time, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Check us out. Peace.